Happy Sunday, everyone. Today is Sunday. It is May the 19th, and as of 5:56 p.m., the score between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers is Pacers 120, Knicks 104. I don't know what's going to happen. This is basketball time. There is 4 minutes and 3 seconds left, according to this app, and what's going on and how they're tracking the score. But uh, it could be a rough night in New York. So mercy, I'm having mercy. I'm hoping that there's some mercy extended because I have not been a New York Knicks fan. I have to be honest. I was a Chicago Bulls fan. Shame on me. Yeah, but these days I just like to watch it for the pleasure and the joy of watching the game. Just like that sportsmanship. There's not a lot of competition. I just like to see guys put it down, and I like to see the athleticism and those who move fast and dominate on the court. So I'd say it's more so just for the fun of the game these days. But I was rooting for New York, hoping that they can get to join with Boston, although then that probably would have been hard for me to still root for New York because I actually like Boston too. So anyway, so FYI, if it's Indiana versus Boston, I'm rooting for Boston. Okay. So having said that, it's been a long weekend, a bit of a treacherous one with the release of what everyone has seen that has went viral. I can't imagine how many people have seen it now. I think probably the world has seen the vicious video of Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Brother Love, assaulting and viciously attacking Cassidy. Um, I saw it. It was a hard to watch. It's really, really hard to watch. In fact, actually, people, or let's just say mostly women, though, and there could be some men, but people who were victims of domestic violence, that video is very triggering. And I mean, there was other videos. I remember seeing that video of him like taunting her. She was under a blanket and he's yelling at her, and it's horrible. It is horrible. And this definitely is not a good look. Everybody's saying Diddy's done, Diddy's done, Diddy's done. They've been saying that, but now it's like, oh, we have confirmation. I don't think clearly that he didn't challenge that. He could not have, obviously. It's probably the reason why he settled that suit right away. Although there's many other things that were listed in that suit as well. It wasn't only about the domestic violence. So there was things that could cause other entities and law enforcement to get involved based on those accusations and allegations that were made. However, want to keep in mind, just given a different perspective, the outrage is warranted and it's acknowledged, it's real, it's legitimate. If you were tuning in today, I saw it today. I know one of the YouTubers I follow mentioned that he was going to be putting out some kind of apology video. So I kind of knew it was on his way. But as of 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that video has been released where he's basically apologizing, acknowledging how disgusting and atrocious it is. Now, I think that's the right thing to do. I think it's good that he did that, obviously, because it is it's a horrible light that everyone's seeing him in. Obviously, from the allegations and what you heard, we resorted to he's a monster. He's been a monster. Um, Egotistical, maniac, sociopath, narcissist, just, all that power, all that influence. There's an understanding, I think, amongst people as to, how people get to that. Not that it's acceptable, not that it's okay. But let me offer an additional um, an additional perspective, which is that if we're keeping in mind with timelines, I find it curious that they're releasing this video right now. This was 2016. So let's keep in mind, this was 8 years ago. My understanding is that the relationship pretty much ended around that time, if not maybe shortly thereafter. So this is 8 years ago. Um, Things could have changed since then. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he had a come to Jesus moment. I'm saying that that was 8 years ago. It's vicious, it's ugly, and essentially they did settle. She did settle for $30 million, right? I'm not saying that. That's not me making any opinion about Cassie. I think she deserved every penny, every dime of for what she went through. Because I mean, when you are in a domestic violence or abusive relationship, it's not only physical abuse; it's emotional, it's psychological, and that's what we've seen on camera. So just imagine what she went through for 10 years. There's a lot of scars, and God bless her soul. She's married, she has children, she's moved on. Hopefully, she can make peace with this. And I know it's hideous and hard to watch. So, shout out to Cassie. I am sorry that this is being put out on display. It's embarrassing, it's humiliating, but it's also important that sunlight be brought to these monsters. And you know what? Puffy deserves to have seen himself this way and to be exposed and humiliated because he was a monster. And this is a cross that he's going to have to bear. He could still be a monster. I don't know, but I'm just judging from that video. That was a monster. Evil, it was vicious and unrelenting. He just continued, just would not stop. So so for Diddy's also dealing with these troubles because of their diabolical hunt to go after Donald Trump. And I say this to say in New York, I'm from New York. New York is the state that put in place this Adult Survivors Act, this legislation that was enacted in 2022. And what it states is for the Adult Survivors Act, New York State legislation enacted in May 2022, which amends state law to allow alleged victims of sexual offenses for which the statute of limitations has lapsed to file civil suits for 1 year period from November 24, 2022 to November 24, 2023. So the act thus expands the ability to plaintiffs to sue for sexual assault and unwanted sexual contact in the workplace. So P. Diddy got caught in that web. The web and the pursuit to go after Trump. P. Diddy got caught in that. In fact, even Eric Adams got caught up in that because there was like sexual abuse allegations made to him. And then there was also, I think, some state senator that was basically an advocate or promoting this Adult Survivors Act, who there was sexual assault allegations brought up to him, either sexual assault or misconduct that were brought up charging him. Then he had the nerve to go and make the argument that they're unconstitutional. Like, you can't make this stuff up. These people are the worst kinds of hypocrites. The hypocrisy is just like daunting and in your face and blatant, and they don't even care. They truly don't care. So it's insane. So I do not personally enjoy watching the downfall of people. I do believe in redemption. I'm not making an argument for that. I also believe in accountability, though. People have to be accountable, they have to be held accountable, and there is the law of karma. So everybody gets theirs. Everybody gets theirs. The question is the why now, and the who, because there are people who are still looking at it like, okay, well, we know Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail, but none of her, none of the clients that were procuring those underage children to engage in these acts were held accountable. So, what happens to them, right? Or what happens to their justice? Justice for them and their families. We haven't seen that yet. So, why did he and why now? And I think everybody is answering the question, did he do it? Yeah, did he did it? But what are we talking about here? What did he do, right? Outside of that, I mean, I am a New Yorker. I grew up listening to lots of Pete Diddy music. I grew up partying to lots of his music. Enjoyed it. I think he's been a great entrepreneur, a mogul. On the business side of things, okay, I am a businesswoman, but on the business side of things, he's been admired in business, and I don't care, out of any hip hop clothing line, Sean John, hands down, the best, most sophisticated, fly, Gucci, cool clothing line. He had it, not Sean John. Excuse me, Sean John, not Sean Carter, who had the Rockaware and he sold that. But Puffy stuff was just like grown man. It was sexy. It was cool. Okay, so again, yes, I'm a fan. I am not a fan of that monstrosity of a character, who he truly was behind the scenes and what we are all getting to learn. It is ugly, but I'm sure he has co-conspirators. He is not the only one. My question mark again is why Diddy? Why now? Hmm. This is like my new favorite to margarita, by the way, in case you were wondering. All right. So, moving on, had to say that, had to get that out there. If you've been paying attention to the news, if you saw my last video, I cited and I talked a little bit about some of those states with an asterisk that they deemed ballots or absentee ballots to be either invalid or unconstitutional, which basically means, so what would that mean? If we're wiping away those votes, essentially that changes the results of the actual final numbers of the election. So that means that changes the outcome. So I don't know if you guys are watching in the news, but just recently in the state of Georgia, they couldn't find in no other county than Fulton County. They are missing over 380,000 ballots. How is that? How is that possible? They're missing over 380,000 ballots. And so I'm going to cite from the Gateway Pundit because unfortunately, they keep us so divided because we only have certain news sources reporting on stories and other news sources reporting on something completely different or just not reporting on it at all, pretending it doesn't exist. We have this case going on in Georgia. There's more news that stems from this based on the defendants and some new arrests that just happened over the weekend as well. But just so you know, this story I'm reading out of the Gateway Pundit, the headline is Georgia GOP State Convention State Election Board member apologizes for years long delay in hearing critical election complaint. So they denied this was the safest election, it's nonsense, they're making things up, but clearly that wasn't the case. So, briefly, I'm going to try to get through this, guys, not the entire article, but let me give you some highlights because I have other areas to move through. This weekend, the Georgia GOP held their state convention in Columbus, Georgia, amidst chaos after a year of politically charged indictments and election exposés. For example, while President Trump is being indicted along 18 original co defendants for challenging the 2020 election results in the Peach State, former Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections BRE member Mark Wingate testified that no signature verification was done on mail in ballots in Fulton during the 2020 election. He also stated that Fulton County didn't provide anything, not even a sampling, in regards to chain of custody for the most secure election ever, and that's in quotation marks. Remember, Fulton County also had the Ruby Freeman, the lady that they pulled out the suitcases. They also said that there was like a water main break, and that's the reason why they had to stop counting votes and stuff and deal with it. Yeah, Fulton County. I had said prior that when there was the funny business going on, they pulled it out all in heavily, heavily blue urban populated areas where no one would think twice about where the votes were going. Phantom votes. Yeah. So Wingate and another Fulton County BRE member would ultimately vote not to certify the vote, while the three others voted to do so, despite missing signature verification and chain of custody documents. So they still went ahead and certified this election, even though they didn't have chain of custody. One county, three counts, three different results. 380, 761 ballot images from one county from election day on the first count that are not found. So, what are we to think? Do we really feel that this is free and fair? Is it? I think not. But hey, that's my opinion. John Eastman. Now, I'm going to say only because I don't have it pulled up right now. This was one of Trump's attorneys that actually, I think, brought up the idea about the alternate electors, or at least educated him on that. A constitutional attorney, Trump lawyer John Eastman, arrested in Phoenix on charges related to the 2020 alternate electors, even though he has zero involvement in Arizona litigation. So I believe this guy actually lost his law license. This is how they went after him. I think they took away his law license because of this. And just really quickly, President Trump's election lawyer, John Eastman, on Friday was arrested in Phoenix on conspiracy, fraud, forgery, and other felony charges related to the 2020 Trump alternate electors plan, even though he has zero communication with the Arizona electors. Last month, Trump 2020 alternate electors GOP state legislators, former Arizona GOP Chairman Kelly Ward, and others were indicted by a state grand jury in Arizona. A total of 18 people involved in the alternate electors plan were indicted by Arizona grand jury last month. Trump lawyers Christina Bobb, Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, and John Eastman were indicted. Okay. I just don't know how much more I can say about it. It's really exhausting. Again, every time these stories come up, prosecutorial misconduct is probably trending to be the other civil rights issue of our time, next to Title IX, the attacks on Title IX, which I'm going to be covering shortly as I wrap up here. So, John Eastman, another Trump attorney, again, I believe they took his law license away, his ability to practice law, um, all because they disagreed with how he came to his conclusion about the alternate electors, which is constitutionally protected, by the way. So, it's, we are truly, truly shown to be a banana republic. It's frightening, guys. There's so much I can say on that. Wisconsin, Wisconsin Supreme Court came back, and I believe they had disagreed with absentee ballots. And so right now, and I had that pulled up, but I don't have it right now in front of me. But this article out of the AP, Wisconsin Supreme Court's liberal justices show signs of wanting to overturn ballot drop box ban. So essentially, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, before it changed, came to the conclusion that these ballot boxes were banned because we know that they were ripe with what? Fraud, shenanigans. So this article was published May the 13th by Scott Bauer. Madison, Wisconsin liberal justices who control the Wisconsin Supreme Court showed signs Monday of being willing to overturn a ruling that all but eliminated the use of absentee ballot drop boxes in the swing state. At issue is whether the court should overturn its July 2022 ruling that said nothing in state law allowed for absentee drop boxes to be placed anywhere other than in election clerk offices. So they're advocating for unsecure um, drop boxes not ones that are inside clerk offices that can be watched and monitored by security footage. Even though they say some of those are, the reality is that you're going to respond differently if you have to physically come into a building and actually place a ballot in one of those boxes. So this is what they're fighting for, guys. And it just flipped the Supreme Court. And so it goes on to say, what if we just got it wrong? Liberal Justice Jill Karofsky said of the earlier absentee ballot ruling during arguments. What if we made a mistake? Are we now supposed to just perpetuate the mistake into the future? The court heard arguments 3 months before August the 13th primary and 6 months ahead of the November presidential election. So if you remember, guys, Mark Elias and crew, the reason why they were able to do everything they did in 2020 was they engaged in lawfare. They challenged laws. They put people in place that would do their bidding. They changed laws in order to be able to pull off what they pulled off. So here it is, 6 months before an election, and they are arguing because they want more ballot boxes to be placed outside for people to access them. How many absentee ballot boxes do we need? Like, seriously? Uh, Ay, ay, ay. Attorneys representing Republican backers of the earlier ruling argued Monday that there have been no changes in the facts or the law to warrant overturning the ruling that's less than 2 years old. So we will see. That's something to watch out for. So pay attention, guys. Remember, the Supreme Court was flipped in Wisconsin. And I would say again, because Republicans are operating blind or just they are so behind. I'm in the state of New Jersey. I'm inside the party politics. I can tell you that Democrats seem to be better politicians than Republicans. Okay, as far as their boots on the ground, their strategy, following up, getting out the vote, like they're a machine for a reason. They're organized, and that organization gets results. These Republicans are reactive. They wait for things. Democrats are proactive. We are reactive. We can't continue on this way. This is how they pull these things out and they're able to accomplish things. So, again, pay attention, guys, to Wisconsin. Right now, they are making the arguments to basically overturn a drop box ban that was put in place before this liberal justice came in. Now they're talking about reversing it or giving indications based on their commentary about reversing it. Shameful. And so, last but not least, is I'm going to be talking about what just happened and what this administration just did. There's so much to say, but I promise, last topic. This is about Title IX. And so I am reading to you from Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty has like a whole fact page. So if you want to get details and resources about what's truly going on with Title IX, my suggestion would be to go to Moms for Liberty. I actually joined the chapter that's in my state, but I'm on the website right now, and they've created a whole hub that's to give information about what's going on, which is awesome. And so, just so you know, shortly, just to give you some historical context, in 1972, after years of hard fought legal battles, Congress enacted Title IX of the Education Amendments to ensure equal educational and athletic opportunities for all students, regardless of their sex, and to protect the rights of girls and women as fundamentally enshrined in our Declaration of Independence and Constitution of the United States. Prior to Title IX, 15% of college athletes were women, and only 1 in 27 girls played sports. Today, over 40% of college athletes are women, and 2 in 5 girls play sports. In fact, since Title IX, 3 million more high school girls and 200,000 more college women have opportunities to play sports each year. High school girls who participate in sports are also less likely to drop out of school, smoke, drink, or become pregnant. Additionally, 94% of women who hold C suite positions are former athletes, and 80% of female Fortune 500 executives played competitive sports. So, to bring that into today and what's going on today is the Biden administration rescinded over 50 years of progress and equality of opportunity by radically redefining biological, that's in parentheses, biological sex as gender identity. So there's no such thing now as biological sex. This is what this administration's trying to do. It's a step backward for women's rights, jeopardizes student safety and privacy, and destroys fairness in women's sports. It essentially detitles Title IX in its meaning and purpose. The Biden administration timeline on upending and comprehensively altering the Title IX is as follows. So on March 8th, 2021, the Biden administration issued an executive order on guaranteeing an educational environment free from discrimination based on the basis of sex, including sexual orientation or gender identity. That's how they continue to change it. They just keep adding on and expanding the definition. June 23rd, 2022, the new Title IX regulations were proposed. The Department of Education received a record number of public comments from parents, many who expressed concern about their children's safety in schools and what the amendments will mean for women's sports. And then April 19th, 2024, the Biden administration released new unofficial guidelines for Title IX effective August 1st, 2024. So we're going to continue to watch and see what this is all about. I'll be paying attention for August. Can't say I'll wait that long to follow up on it, but just so you know, obviously we know where this all is going. Men want to dominate women's sports. Biological men want to dominate women's sports. Is that fair? The funny thing is, on the reverse side, I do not see biological women trying to dominate male sports. I wonder why. I wonder. I think we know our limitations, right? But these men, biological men, like Aaliyah Thomas, who was like in rank 384, and then went to compete with women and then came in number one. I'm sorry, you are a loser for doing that. Like, I'm sorry. No bueno. Again, biological women are not fighting to be part of male sports, but the opposite is not true. So as this Title IX issue continues to grow, I see this as a women's issue. This should have women rallying up, getting together, putting their issues aside, and joining forces because I'm not going to be totally affected by this, but my grandchildren, if I'm so blessed to have them, my grandchild could be affected by this. This is a big deal. So, having said that, this was a long one, guys. I'm sorry. It's Sunday, and um, I just wanted to check in. We had some news I felt worthy of covering. If you like this content, I'm going to ask again. I'm looking to grow. Please share, comment, like, subscribe to Pop Analysis. This is my channel where I cover topics that are maybe trending, hopping. So every so often, I'm going to pop on the screen, keeping true to my commitment of coming to you with videos once every Friday or over the weekend. We have to see. Maybe I'll be jumping in on a Sunday. It really, truly, truly all depends. But thanks for tuning in if you did, and if you stood around this long, again, like, share, subscribe. And by the way, I also have a business channel. My business channel covers everything insurance. And that channel is called the Biz Insurance Wiz. I want to grow that as well. So, having said that, I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday and a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.